All right, guys, I want to talk today about using your hands in the golf swing. So something that gets really overplayed in the golf world is the idea that you're supposed to take your hands out of the golf swing, that you should have this pivot-oriented motion where there's no hand action. And while the rotation of the body and how you use your body is extremely important and a big part of it, I want a lot of you guys to realize that using your hands in the swing is non-negotiable. And for a lot of you, using it more or using them correctly can really benefit your game. Let's skip the fact that probably 75% or more of you guys hit a ball too far to the right, right? So anyone that hits the ball too far to the right has in some way, shape, or form an issue with the club face being too open. To me, a club face being too open would indicate a lack of hand motion or lack of correct hand motion. How could you be too handsy and still have a club face open and miss to the right? It doesn't make sense to me. So that's number one. Number two is the only attachment that I have to the club is where my hands sit on it, right? Like literally impossible for me to make a swing without using my hands at all. Number three is even the best players in the world that have what look like a very stable release pattern, so it doesn't look like the rate of closure is very high or the face isn't rotating enough. Look at what their hands do from address up to the top of the backswing. Look at what their hands do in transition and into the follow through. The reality is if every single person watching this that shot 90, let's say you shoot 90 or above, if you added more lead arm rotation or supination, and you added more lead wrist flexion or bowing through impact, every single one of you would hit the ball better. The pros that hit the ball the best have the most lead arm rotation, have the most supination of the lead arm relative to an amateur golfer. Yet a lot of you guys will come in and see me and you're trying to take your hands out of it or not have a lot of club face rotation. Well, you need the exact opposite of that, right? So that's number one. I think that a lot of people don't understand that, and you probably should actively be putting some lead arm rotation in. I hear a lot of guys talk about not wanting to have the lead arm rotate a lot, or you're going to lack club face control with that. Well, if you're shooting 90 or above and you're listening the ball too far to the right, you don't have club face control to begin with. You need to add some of that just to get neutral. So that's my little rant on that, and let's talk about how to do these things. Number one, during the downswing, watch good players. If I get into a position where, let's say, the club's parallel to the ground, my hands are near my trail thigh, and I'd have some rotation here really, but this is what this would look like. Most of these guys and girls, the back of their left hand is pointed towards the camera or away from me, right? And then by impact, the back of the left hand is towards the target, and then into the follow through, the back of the left hand is to the left or slightly down. Let me do that again. Back of the left hand towards you at this kind of halfway down position. Back of the left hand towards the target, back of the left hand towards the left. Unless you have some kind of uber strong grip like this and you can have a kind of hold off motion, right? That's the only way you're getting around that. How could your lead hand go from pointed all the way over here to all the way over there in that short amount of time without a lot of hand action? I don't even see how that's even possible. From here to here, and I don't know what kind of time that is, maybe 1/10 of a second. So if you're trying to have no hands in there, you're not getting that, right? So what does supination do? Well, what I want you to pair that with is some lead wrist flexing or bowing, okay? I understand that guys at the highest level, their lead wrist goes from a flat or bowed position from down in here into an extended position, okay? They've released the club like this. They also have a lot better eye-hand coordination than most of you. They swing a lot faster than you. Their ball speeds are higher. It's a completely different ball game. If all of you guys and girls are here and trying to extend this lead wrist into this spot, and you don't have management of your club face earlier in the swing, you're done. You're gonna have your dynamic loss gonna be too high. You're gonna miss it to the right. I want you to add supination. I want you to add flexion. I want you to pair them together, or forearm rotation and bow. I want you to pair them together into the follow through to lower your dynamic loft and manage your club face. And I'm gonna show you some different ways as to how to do this. One way that I coach in this lead wrist flexion or this bowing of the lead wrist through impact would be if you had a wall, or we have a post here, let's say roughly a foot or so in front of me. It doesn't need to be perfect. Most people that would come in with their lead hand against the wall, if it was a foot in front of them, would get their fingernails to hit the wall and the top of their hand or their wrist would be behind the wall. Okay, this would be going into extension, adding loft, face more open, not good for almost all of you. What a lot of people will try and do then is take that hand, and instead of the fingernails hitting and the wrist staying back, they'll just make the hand flat. And that would be okay in reality. To actually get to that position with some turn would be good. But what I want you to do to exaggerate and overdo this would be, if I put my hand here, I want the top part of my hand or my wrist to run into the wall without my knuckles or fingernails hitting it. Can you see that here? Here's bad, fingernails only. Here would be okay in reality, whole hand, but I want this motion. I want the top of your hand or wrist hitting it and your knuckles curl back. That's you actually adding some bow or flexion through impact. Okay, and I know some people are gonna watch and say, no, 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 people go like this. I get that, but if you're here and you look like this and you flip early impact, then you sure as heck need some of this action when you go through. It's okay for you to be adding flexion through impact, okay? Again, probably 90% of you need that. So not here, not here. I want this here. Top of hand hits it, or wrist, knuckles are back and fingernails are back. All you do from there is add some of this forearm rotation. Take the back of your, or the palm of your left hand towards the sky, or you can get knuckles towards the ground, and it ends up looking like this here. So it's top of wrist, like this, and then it's here with a turn, right? And again, I know I'm gonna get some people saying that that's too much, that's over exaggerated. Yeah, for probably 1% of you, that might be too much. If you're already at impact into here and you have a ton and the face is square, then maybe you don't need that much. But for the greater majority of you, if you hit the ball too short, too high, too far to the right, you better bet that you need some of this and you need some of this right here. So the last part of training in this wrist flexion, this supination, is I've been talking lead hand, lead arm the whole time. The reality is you got two hands, right? So your right hand or your trail hand is gonna work with it as well. And it's just gonna be the opposite patterns. If I add flex or bow with my left hand like this, then I need to add extension this way with my right hand, okay? It would look like this here. If I add supination or forearm rotation with my palm up on my left hand, I would need the opposite with my right, which is my fingernails to the sky. So the action from, let's say, club parallel to the ground, back of left hand towards you, is gonna be this left hand adding flex and rotation, so it's pointed to the target by impact, and then actually staying in a flex position with the back of the left hand towards the ground. So it's here, it's here, and then it's here, back of left hand towards the ground. If I add in my trail hand, I'm gonna have here, here, here. So my trail hand will keep some little angle there to it, and then my knuckles will be up towards the sky into this pattern. And again, the goal with me being here, right, in the follow through, and me being here, is that when I actually hit it, I'm gonna look like this. Again, to me, if you add that motion, that exaggeration with body rotation, you're gonna have an exaggerated feel of those motions. It's gonna feel like it's left hand still bowed, right hand still extended, left palm towards the sky, right fingernails towards the sky. But really, when you add rotation, actually hit the ball, it's gonna look like this. You're training in this here so that it looks normal. That's the whole point of this video, is you need to add a ton of flexion, a ton of supination, add rotation to it, and then it's gonna look perfect and normal. It's not adding too much hands. You need that motion, and then let your pivot respond to that. All right, guys, I hope that this all makes sense. I know some of that might be a little bit complicated for some of you guys. I wanna emphasize the reality that at least 3 out of 4 of you guys watching this need more hand action, not less, or at least correct hand action. Adding in some lead arm flexing or bowing, some supination, adding in some trail arm, or the trail wrist here extension, and pronation on the way through is gonna be good for almost all of you guys. You need to learn how to lower the dynamic loft and control the club face. So again, I want you doing these pieces. I want you exaggerating this stuff. Some people aren't gonna like the look of that when they watch us. It doesn't matter. Exaggerate to this point, so when you do it and you add rotation and add speed to it, it's gonna be neutral, and try it. Now, if you guys have a question or it doesn't make sense, send me a comment. I would need to, again, see some of your swings for this. We talked about this motion in our Slice Fix product that's out there to square the club face up, and a lot of people have had really good results with that, and you will too. So if you have questions, send me a message. This is the first of many videos we'll do on this because it's really not understood, and I don't know if you guys will all grasp it in one video. So Let me know what you think, and we'll do more videos like this in the future.